You should all be very excited. This is our largest ever virtual field trip. And so we should have about 850 students on this field trip. So that's very exciting. My name is Melissa Bell, and I work for the Ohio Pork Council, and I'm going to be your host today. Today we are going to take a virtual field trip, and our host, our producer farmer, is Mr. Phil Hord, and he's going to be on here in just a second so that he can provide some information about his farm and what he and his family do. But before we do that, I do want to take a roll call and make sure that we have everybody on here that we are supposed to. So if you could please just say, when I call your name, if you can just say yes, unmute yourself, say yes, we're here, that would be great. So first off, we have Mrs. Gibbons' class from Midview North. All right. Ms. Maynard's class from Horizon Science Academy. Okay. Perfect. Ms. Ott's class from National Trail. Great. Ms. Clark's class from French Run Elementary. All right, and we have 5 classes from General Rosecrans. So we have Miss, are you all together? I'm not sure how that works. Do we have 5 different classes from General Rosecrans, or are you all together?
They're connected via different connections today.
Okay, perfect. Miss Farrison's class? Okay. Mr. Harden's class?
They are connected. They're in a different room. Their video's not working right now. They're combined with Miss Bryant's class.
Okay, perfect. Mrs. Wolf's class. Do we have Mrs. Wolf's class? How about Miss Nichols' class? Yeah. Hi, perfect. Okay, Dan, do we have Mrs. Wolf's class? Okay. All right, how about we go to,
there it is. There it is. That's us.
Hi, very good. How about Amos? Is that right? From Cincinnati? Is our Amos class? Hello.
Me. I just learned today they are called AMI.
AMI. Okay, very good. Our Lady of Perpetual Help from Grove City. Hello. Ridgedale in Morrill. Mrs. Moore's class. Hello. All right, how about the 3 classes from Johnstown Elementary School? Derenbergers, Alexanders, and Weingartners. Yeah. Okay, very good. And Holgate, Mr. Hohenbergers and Mr. Dale's class.
Yes, we are here.
All right, Mrs. Fox's class from Clear Fork.
They are connected via microphone or via the chat today.
Perfect. And Mrs. Allen and Miss Russell's classes. Yep, there you are. Great. Okay, well, it looks like everybody is here and on board. You're in for a great treat. Phil is a lot of fun to listen to and has lots of great information to share about his farm. Before we flip it over to you, Phil, I do want to make sure that I thank our sponsors for this program, and that's Farm Credit Mid-America, the Ohio Soybean Council, and Cargill. So those are our special sponsors that provide this opportunity for us to share with you today. So with that, Phil, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your farm.
How's it going, guys? My name's Phil, and I'm currently in one of my family's farms today. We are in a growing barn, and so these pigs are in the growing phase. These ones that you're looking at now are about 4 months old. And so the barn we're in today is a special barn that we have for these growing size animals. And so we are inside. It's nice and warm in here compared to the outside. I don't know if you guys have some snow where you are today, but it's kind of snowy out here at my farm. And we are in between Columbus and Lake Erie. So if you guys know where that is, we're kind of right in the middle there. And I believe I might be close to some of you at Ridgedale, but anyway, so I can kind of flip my camera around and show you guys some of the barn here. So the barn we're in today is a growing barn, like I said, and we have pens of pigs. There's about 30 pigs per pen, and in this and then through that door over there, we basically go to the other side of the barn, and it's the same. It looks exactly the same over there. So I can focus in on some things we're looking at today in the pen. But this silver thing right here in the middle that your guys are seeing is the feeder, or the feeding trough. So we can see some pigs that are actually eating right now. So we can kind of get in here. I'll show you what he's eating from. But that's where they put their nose in and they get some food. And let me get a handful of the food for you here. But this is what their food looks like. When they are growing, we can change their food depending on how big they are. But the food is always primarily made up of corn and soybeans. So soybeans being a primary protein source. If you guys know what protein is. Dan's got us up the picture here of both corn and soybeans, and we grow those on our farm too. And so basically we grind both of those up, and then we add some vitamins and minerals too, and that gives us a balanced meal for the pigs. And so as they get older, like I said, we change that up a little bit. We do a lot of science and research into what the best types of formulations are to feed the pigs, and that's actually one of my jobs here on our family's farm. So I graduated from college. I went and got my degree in business finance. And so while I don't deal with numbers per se in finance every day, there still is a lot of business things that happen on the farm. But I spend my day working with animals and with our farmers. We have about 200 people that work with us every day on our farms. And so a lot of those people actually work in one of our birthing farms. And so at this farm, like we only have pigs that are this size, this growing size. But at other farms, we actually have farms that are specific to where the piglets are born. And then we can move them to different barns depending on their size and age. And so I see we've got a little picture of a piglet there. That pig would have been just born. He would have been in the birthing room, and he would weigh about 5 pounds at that point. And so that's how they start that size, and then they grow really fast. So the pigs are naturally a fast-growing animal, and so we can, yes, Dan brought up the graphic here, but they start about 3 pounds when they're born, and then they go, these pigs we're looking at today will become about 280 pounds. So the pigs we're looking at today are roughly about 200 pounds. So they have about 80 pounds on average to go before they reach market weight. So we talked a little bit about the feeder in the pen. So that's where the pigs get their food. And then you can see that silver thing where that pig is putting his mouth on right now. That's actually where they get their water. And so, oh, we have someone saying hi to us. Hello, pig. Um, and so they go there. That's where they get their water. You see on this end here where there's kind of a clear curtain, we have some wiring on there so that birds don't get into the barn, so that when that curtain goes down, depending on how much air we need to have in the barn, it will actually go down. Right now, since it's somewhat cooler outside, we don't have to have the large curtain, but the air actually comes in through these flaps through the ceiling. And so the air is being pulled. You can kind of see way down there, see that little light right there? That's actually the outside, and that fan is pulling the air through the barn, and there's constant fresh air coming to the pigs. So basically, what the things we talked about is the three things are really important for pigs to grow healthy. And that first thing is that they have fresh air. The second thing is that they have food. And the third thing is that they have access to fresh water at all times. So a little bit more about me and my family is that my family has been farming for over 100 years. And so my great grandpa started farming, and he had some pigs and some other animals. And so about the last 30 years, my family has really focused in on raising any number of pigs. And so we feel like we've tried to get really good at raising pigs as our main thing that we do. And we couldn't do it without a lot of help from other farmers and our team members and people that we have working with the animals every day. One of those in particular that would be good to talk to you about is we have a veterinarian that works on our farm. And so if there's ever any health concerns or just in general, he kind of helps us figure out what vaccines would be good to give the pigs and any other health regimens that we might need to use in order to keep the pigs in optimum condition and health. So I think that's about all that I have for right now. We can keep looking at the pigs and maybe go to you, Missy.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't you tell me, and maybe I missed this, how many pigs do you have both on your farm and in that building?
Sure. So, yeah, we said at the beginning there's about 1,000 pigs in this side of the barn. And then if we would take a walk to the other side of the barn, there's also about 1,000 pigs over there. So there's a total of about 2,000 pigs that are just about this size all at this farm here.
But tell me then, like, how many pigs does your family raise total? Do you have sows? Do you have, I know you have piglets because we saw that picture. Like, what's your total number of pigs?
Yeah, so we work with probably a good way to explain it is that we have several birthing farms where we house the mother pigs, and then they give birth to piglets there. And then we move them, we wean them. If we go back to Dan's slide about the different growing ages of pigs, basically once those pigs reach about 3 weeks of age, they are weaned to a nursery. And a nursery is basically just a special barn that is used for small pigs. And so the pigs are weaned from the mom, and they're about 15 pounds, and so they stay there from about 15 pounds up to 60 pounds, so 60, and then that's kind of how the size they come into this barn. So my family has about 30,000 of the mother pigs, and those are not all at the same place, but they are spread out over other farms. And then we work with other farmers throughout Ohio to raise those pigs that those sows are birthing to us.
How long, one of the questions that we have is from me is how long does the average pig live?
Sure. So from the time that this pig looking at us right here, the time that he was born until he goes to market is about 6 months. And so it's really important to recognize that the pigs are not given any hormones or any injections of hormones or anything of that nature, and that all of their growth happens naturally. So it's all about the breed of pig and how good of food we can give them that helps them grow nice, fast, and strong. So I've seen some of the questions come through regarding the breed of pig, and so we can talk about that a little bit. This is actually what is called a crossbred pig or a crossbreed, and so it's a mixture of several different breeds. And so those consist of, some of them are land race, and so the land raised pig usually has big floppy ears, so that's kind of where some of these pigs are you can see their longer ears. They also have some Yorkshire and Chester White and Hampshire in them as well. And so they, through their family history, they have all of those influences, and so those help us to have great meat quality from the animals, but also helps us keep a healthy pig and lots of other benefits too to the crossbreeding of those animals.
One of the questions that I thought we could talk about too is if all of these hogs are raised inside, where do they go to the bathroom? And then where does all that poo go?
Yeah, great question. So you can see, I'm gonna get down here a little bit lower, but you can see those black lines. Well, they're actually not lower, and so manure and urine falls into the floor and underneath them, and so it gets out of their pen and helps keep their environment as clean as possible. And then we have farmers that work on injecting that natural fertilizer or that manure into the fields, which helps us raise the corn and the soybeans and things like that that we need to raise the animals.
Very good. All right. At this time, we would like to move to the classrooms, and we're going to let the classes ask questions. So let's start with the first class we have up there. And Holgate, if you would like to ask a question, maybe two, that would be great. We can't hear you. Can you, maybe your audio, you're muted.
Food do the pigs use?
I'm sorry, say it one more time, buddy.
How much food do the pigs use?
Okay, how much food do the pigs use?
Great question. So over their lives, these pigs will actually eat about 600 to 700 pounds of food. So they eat quite a bit of food. But right now, at this age, they're probably eating about 3 to 4 pounds, sometimes even more than that per day. So they're eating quite a bit of food every day.
Great. Is there another question from Holgate?
How do you guys know the question? How do you guys know the number of how their ears are? How do you know how? Yeah, the ear notches. How do you know the number of them?
Very good.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
He was asking about ear notching, and how do you know how to read the numbers in the ears?
Oh, that is a great question. I'm glad that you noticed the ear notches. So the ear notches are really important because it helps us know when we bring farms. So I was telling you guys earlier that we have more than one birthing farm, right? So we keep the mama pigs at several different farms. So you can tell that the one right beside this one doesn't have any ear notches, but the one right here does. And so that means that these pigs were born at a different farm. And so generally what that lets us do is that we don't usually mix more than 3 birthing farms, 3 groups together. In our business, we call that flow, or how many birthing farms come together into the same growing barn. And so some of them will have notches. If we have, say, for instance, if we have 3 birthing farms coming into the same growing barn, one of them will notch in the left ear, one of them will notch in the right ear, and then one of them will not notch at all. And so that way we can know if there's anything specific going on to those pigs, which farm they came from and were birthed at.
Great. All right. Our next school would be St. Agatha. Do you have a couple of questions for us?
James, come up here.
Hi.
Hi.
How do you know how many pigs you have?
Yes. So the question was, how do we know how many pigs we have? So in this barn, we count all of them when they leave the other. We talked about the stages of different barns that we have. So these pigs came from a nursery farm, and so when they left the nursery farm, we counted how many went on the trailer, and then we counted them again when we get them into this barn. And so we know exactly how many pigs we have in every pen because we usually put the same number in every pen. And then if we move any out, we record on a spreadsheet or on a paper where that pig went, so that we know exactly how many pigs we still have in the barn and where they're at. That's a good question.
Good. All right. Is there another question from St. Agatha?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a question.
Okay. Our next group up then is going to be the 4-H Friday Friends, and they are joining us today from Idaho. Is that right? Okay. Do you have a couple questions for us?
Right. Go closer to the
Do you have a year? Have a year.
Repeat it nice and loud, buddy.
How many do you have a year?
Oh, how many pigs does he have a year? Phil, how many pigs do you have a year?
Yes. So in this farm, we have, it would average about 2.5 groups. So we would get pigs in on average about 2.5 times per year to this farm. But when we talk about all of our farms as a whole, we have over 700,000 pigs that we have every year.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Go ahead. You're actually muted. Could you unmute?
You're unmuted now. You're good.
Okay.
Say it again.
How big does a pig get?
Good question. How big does a pig get?
Yep. So these pigs are about 200 pounds right now. And so they will get to be about 280 pounds. And so they have about 80 pounds of growth to go. The mama pigs, so the pigs that that birthed these pigs, they can get a lot heavier. They can get 600 or 700 pounds or even more than that, depending on how old they are and how big of a pig they are. But the market pigs only get to be about 280 up to about 300 pounds.
Very good. All right. Our next school, let's move to Midview. All right, Midview.
We're here.
Come on, Brody. Brody. No, put your hands down. Right here, Brody. Okay, tell me. Okay, now ask your question.
How many pens do you have?
How many pens?
How many pigs does he have?
Pens.
Pens.
Pens. How many pens do you have?
Oh, great question. So in this farm, we actually have 88 pens. So some of them are smaller. So like this one, we can use as a recovery pen or a hospital pen if one needs to be given special care. There's not any pigs in this one currently, but it's a smaller pen, as you guys can see. And then a normal size pen is what we've been looking at. And there's anywhere from about 25 to 30 in each of these pens.
Okay, great. Another question from Midview.
Go ahead, Emma.
What do pigs give us?
What do pigs give us?
Yep.
Very good. What do pigs give us, Phil?
They give us lots of things. So obviously pigs give us food, but there are several dozens and dozens of other products that use things from the pig. I think probably one of the coolest things that I've heard about recently is, and as we keep learning in science, is that the pig heart is similar to the human heart. And so we can sometimes, it's becoming more common that we can use the heart from pigs when humans need help and having a heart transplant.
Very good. All right. Next up, we have National Trail. Okay, would you like to ask your questions? I'm sorry.
How many pigs go to the market each year?
How many pigs?
Do they send to market each year?
Okay. How many pigs do you send to market each year?
My family sends over 700,000 pigs to market every year.
All right, next question.
How many pigs are in each pen?
How many pigs are in each pen?
Yep, so as we said before, there's about 25 to 30 pigs in every pen, depending on the size of the pen.
Okay, great. Next up would be French Run. Hi there, do you have a couple questions?
Do pigs have teeth?
Do pigs have teeth?
Yes.
They do. I don't know if one of them will sit still enough for us to look at their teeth, but they do have teeth.
You know how many they have?
Are pigs smart?
Are they smart?
Are pigs smart?
Yes, they are. They are smart. They learn very well. So they throughout their life we move them to different barns. They usually will see about either one or two different barns in their life, and so they need to learn where their feeder is. They learn how to get their water, but they also learn who we are, who the farmers are, and so they will come up to the gate like these are right now. They'll come see me, and they know who we are, and they are smart. Yep.
All right, let's move to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Questions?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you separate the pigs in each pen?
How do you separate the pigs in each pen?
Great question. So we have special boards that we use to help sort them. They're called sort boards. And I'm not sure if I have one close here. I could show you. I don't think I do, but they're basically just a board that we can use to help guide them in and out of the pens.
All right.
Another question?
Yes, we have one more.
How many people take care of so many pigs if they weigh like 200 pounds each?
How many employees do you have?
Yeah, so one important thing to talk about is that my family doesn't take care of all of these pigs by ourselves. So we have about 200 people that work with us every day that are employees or our team members. And then we have about 150 families that have growing barns very similar like this. And they actually help take care of the pigs and they make sure that they have care every day. So it helps us by having people that are really want to help raise pigs, and then they can use the natural fertilizer on their ground. And so it's a really cool and fun thing that we can do to partner with other families to raise the pigs.
Good. Horizon, do you have questions?
Yes, we have one.
How many baby pigs do you have?
No. How many baby pigs does a mom have?
How many baby pigs does the mom have? Great.
Yeah, each mom has on average about 14 to 15 piglets per litter.
Okay. Ridgedale, you're up next.
So, what? Do pigs have ringworm?
Do pigs have ringworm?
These pigs do not have ringworm. No, they are one of the reasons or benefits of having pigs inside is that ringworm is usually gained from the ground or from contacting other sources of ringworm. But these pigs do not have ringworm. If you're seeing some of the marks on their back, that you can see that sometimes they climb over each other, and so sometimes they unintentionally can scratch each other, and so that's maybe what you're seeing on their backs. But they do not have a ringworm on their skin, no. Yes.
Is there another question? Okay. If not, we're going to move to Johnstown. You have a couple questions?
What are the most common pig?
What types of pigs? Oh, diseases. Pig diseases.
What are the most common types of pig diseases?
Oh, interesting question. Okay. So one of the things that you might be familiar with, or humans deal a lot with, is the flu. Flu is a virus. So in the wintertime, pigs can actually be susceptible to catching the flu, just like we can as humans. And so it's important that, and we didn't talk about this yet, but when we get to our barn every day, we actually, some of our farms, like on the birthing farms, we actually take showers. And when we get to the barn, and that way that we are leaving any germs that we had on our clothes that are not going into the farm, and then we're washing our hair on our body, and then we're wearing special clothes that we keep inside the barn so that we don't infect the pigs with different germs that we might have on our skin. And so that's one way that we can help prevent the spread of disease. If we talk specifically about the flu, one of the ways to not infect the pigs is that if we are sick, then we shouldn't go around the pigs because there's a chance that they could catch it too.
Okay, another question from Johnstown.
How long have you been working with pigs?
I've been working with pigs probably since before I could walk. But probably I started going out to the farms with my dad when I was probably 2 or 3, 4 years old. Yep.
Great. Johnstown, do you have any more questions?
Where does the water come from before it gets to the spout?
Where does the water come from that the sows are drinking?
Before it gets to this.
Where does the water come from before it gets to the sow?
Okay. Yeah, so we don't have any sows at this barn. Sows are actually what the mother pigs are called. And so at this barn, we only have growing animals. So we only have boys and girls here that the girls have never had piglets and they won't have piglets because these are the market animals. But at this farm, the water comes in from the well, from the ground, and then it comes into a holding tank, and then we pump it through the lines into the pig's pen. So like I was showing you earlier, the water comes down from the ceiling lines and comes into their pen to the drinking fountain.
Okay, great. Next we have Ami.
Okay. That's a question.
Do the pigs what?
Play in the mud.
Do the pigs play in the mud?
These pigs do not. These pigs are in the barn. And so we give them everything they need in here. They are not in the elements or out into the weather. So in the winter time, we have heaters in the barn that help heat the air in here so that the pigs do not get cold and chilled. And then in the summertime, we have large amounts of fans to help cool the pigs. And then we actually have some misters. You guys ever run through the sprinklers in the summertime? The pigs can do that too, and that helps cool the pigs because the pigs do not sweat. Pigs don't have sweat glands, so we have to help keep them cool that way in the summer.
Good. Another question from Ami.
Yes.
How long are the pigs?
How long from the head to the are they?
How long are the pigs from head to tail?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say these ones are maybe about 4 feet long.
Okay, good. Ami, any other questions?
That's good. Right here.
How long do pigs sleep?
Pigs sleep.
How long do pigs sleep? How do they sleep?
Oh, yes, they sleep a lot. So pigs do what they love to do most here, and that is that they eat and they drink water and then they nap. So they sleep several times a day, but they still do sleep at night. So even though the pigs are inside the barn, we still have these natural light curtains and we have windows in the barn. So they know when it's dark outside. And so they kind of follow a similar sleeping schedule that you and I might, but they might get up in the middle of the night to get a midnight snack too. So it's always telling, there's no telling what they might do. They can always get food, so they have no restrictions. They can sleep and eat whenever they want.
Great. All right, we have two more schools. General Rosecrans, do you want to ask your questions?
Gracie, go ahead.
Do you use comforter for your pigs by any chance?
Do we use what?
Comforter.
Anything to comfort the pigs?
Oh,
Like when they sleep, like hay or anything?
okay.
No, at this farm we do not use any hay or anything like that to give them. All of their nutrition comes. They don't need any hay to eat. The pigs eat all of their food from their feeder, and so they don't have any hay or anything like that in the pens.
All right, another question?
How can you tell how old the pigs are?
How can you tell how old the pigs are?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
How can you tell how old the pigs are?
Yes, so when the pigs move from the nursery barn or from the birthing barn into the nursery barn, they're going to be about 3 weeks old. And so once they move from the nursery barn to the growing barn that we're in today, so like a growing barn like this, we also know their age. So we know exactly when each pig was born when they get moved to each barn. And so that helps us keep track of how old they are and where they came from. And we keep a lot of records on each farm so that we can tell exactly where the pigs came from and who their moms were and everything. We have a lot of information, and we use some technology. I think I saw a question about that earlier. Do we use technology in the farms? And that would be a yes, we do. We keep a lot of records on each animal and until they go to market or on the birthing side until those sows are ready to be bred again for their next litter. So there's a lot of record keeping that happens on the farm.
Go ahead with your next question.
How long does it take for a baby to grow up to a grown-up pig?
How long does it take a baby piglet to grow up to a grown-up pig?
So from the time the pig is born until they are ready for market, it's about 6 months. So they grow very fast. So they grow from about 3 pounds to 280 pounds when they are ready for market.
Great. Rosecrans, do you have any more?
Mrs. Ferrison's class has another question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
How do you know if they have good meat?
Good question. How do you know if they have good meat?
Yes, so we spend a lot of time focusing on this and making sure that because when we're raising animals, the quality of their food is really important, and that helps us know that we will have quality meat. But like earlier, we were talking about the breed of pig, the different breeds that can help influence meat quality. And so when the pigs go to harvest, then there's also inspectors in the harvest plants that can say if a pig carcass is good or not, or if there's anything wrong with it. And so all of that is federally inspected, and so there's several options and ways that we can help make sure that the meat quality is good. Everything from what the pigs are eating and the type of pig it is, all the way to the meat packing plant.
Okay. Let's see here. We did have a couple of other questions. How do you know if a pig is sick?
Yes. So one of the best ways that we know if a pig is sick when we're doing our daily checks. So as we walk and we get every pig up and we look at every animal in the barn, we can tell if a pig is sick mostly by the time they don't get up for us, if their head is a little bit droopy, or sometimes if they don't have their ears perked up. So since the farmers are going into their barn every day, they kind of have a good idea of what their pigs are normally acting like and how they're doing. So if the one does fall ill and they need to move him to like one of the hospital pens or one of the recovery pens, then they can do that, and then they can give him special care from there. If there's something happening with a large group of the animals, then we would have the veterinarian, the farm veterinarian, come in, and he would help us figure out what we needed to do in order to help the pigs get better.
All right, Phil, I'm going to ask one more question because we've had two people ask this question, or two groups want to know this question. Have any of your pigs escaped from their pens?
So they are kind of smart animals. There's no doubt about that. But we have created the gates so that it's pretty difficult for them to put their nose in and get it out. But you guys can see here, we actually have a little hook that comes up, and then the gate pops out of the pen. But I have went into other barns of ours or other farms, and there has been a time when they have escaped. But that's why we have other doors in the farm that we're able to keep shut so that they don't get outside and start wandering around. That wouldn't be good. We want to keep them safe. And so that's usually not a problem, but good question.
Good. All right. Well, the last question is, what do you enjoy most about farming, or what's the one thing that you want the kids to remember from your trip today?
Yes, I think it's awesome that you guys got to come along today and see the pigs and learn a little bit more about it. I think it's a fun thing. You don't have too many people that are still in farming or in agriculture today. And so as you guys keep getting older and you're trying to look for maybe possible things to do with your life or for your career, I think becoming a farmer, you don't have to have a lot of experience. Farming is something that we learn every day. So I spend every day learning, and my goal is that there's not one day that passes that I don't learn something new. So if you enjoy learning and if you like working with animals, then farming is really fun. And so that's really what I like about farming every day.
Great. Well, thank you very, very much. Thanks to everyone that joined in today and listened. And thanks especially to Phil Ford, our farmer producer, who was here to share his farm with us. As always, just thanking Farm Credit Mid-America, Ohio Soy, and Cargill for their sponsorship. And thanks to all the schools for participating. So if everybody wants to give Phil a big round of applause, that would be great. Thank you. Thanks again. Have a great afternoon.
Goodbye.